Hello everyone, welcome to another Ismono podcast, and today I have a returning guest with me. JB Outside is back in the studio talking to me about stuff. I have a couple of topics prepared. Thank you so much for joining me, JB. When was the last time that we talked? I think it was a year ago, at least.
Has it been that long? It's been a while.
It's definitely.
I've seen a lot of great podcasts and videos you put out. Yeah. It's really fun to listen to your podcast, but it's also, I think, a lot more enjoyable watching the YouTube version just because you can see facial expressions.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah.
You can watch Aaron sometimes drinking from a flask of something. I assume it's water.
It's water, right?
Or coffee
that's
something.
That isn't it? It looks like vodka. I think that's straight up pure vodka there.
This podcast would end up in a different place if that was all vodka. But yeah, no, it's fun to watch people's reactions and just you kind of feel like you're sitting at the table with some good friends talking about things, just watching your channel.
It's so strange being in any creator space. I watch you a lot. I watch the other guys a lot. We have been talking a lot, and I really looking forward to the day where I can actually meet any of you guys and actually see face to face who am I always watching and talking to. And I would love to visit at some time. Or maybe we are lucky and you will be in Hamburg for some reason. That would be
cool. We have some trips to Stuttgart right now, which have 48-hour layovers, which if I had 48 hours, I could hop on a train quickly. And
that would be pretty cool. Yeah,
maybe you for an overnight in a hotel and come back the next day and still have plenty of time to fly back. So
do you have a lot of international flights now?
When I say we have that, I mean my company. I don't, at my seniority level, ever get those cool, fun trips. So I'm usually in Florida.
But that's
sometimes
pretty nice
on the West Coast.
Well.
But yeah. Oh well, it's summertime. It's nice.
Yeah, we jumped a little bit ahead. Can you quickly tell those people who do not know you who you are?
Yeah, I'm a JB. I am an airline pilot. During the day, and then review outdoor gear, mostly backpacks, getting into some other things, but JB Outside on Instagram and YouTube are the two main things.
And a crime fighter by night.
And what?
A crime fighter, a vigilante by night.
A crime fighter, yes. 3 jobs, I suppose. I don't think I could handle that one as well, but...
So... Yeah. I would love to talk to you a little bit about your channel and what's been going on. I've watched actually your last video twice just to be very thorough about what's going on with you at the moment, because I feel it is going through all of the reviewer space at the moment, somewhat of a reviewers fatigue, I feel like. So and you called it that you might be going into I'm not sure how to pronounce it correct, hiatus. Yeah. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? What kind of sparked that direction that you want to go on a break, essentially? Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean there really isn't a good term for it. Hiatus really, I put out a video on a Friday say I'm going on a hiatus, and then don't expect regular videos, and then the following Friday I put out another video. So people are probably kind of confused on what I really meant by that. And really, I think the creative retreat part that I meant is I'm just taking a step back, looking at everything I'm doing, how I'm doing it, trying to maybe reinvigorate parts of it. But at the end of the day, I assume every creator gets to a point where they transition from a startup phase where you're really trying to meet a pattern to get your videos in front of the people that you're trying to draw into it. And then you realize a point where maybe that pace is a little unachievable, and maybe trying to maintain that pace degrades the quality a little bit of the videos. So I think that's where I am right now. Is I've witnessed a couple of times where I was the night before and I had to just finish it, and I just finished the project, and I'm sure everyone's been in a place where they just had to turn it in, and I just finished the product, and I knew that was like watching it later, I'm like, oh, I should have brought that up. I should have put more comparisons or brought something else up that would have made it more enjoyable, more complete. And I just, finished it. And so I wasn't very happy with, I mean, I'm overall happy with it, but I just know I can do better. So I tried to make time for that. But when you're working a real job, not that this isn't, it is a real job when you're trying to put all things together, but you're trying to pay the bills and, keep up with family and be present for all those activities and also travel a little bit. It's just kind of hard to maintain it all. So I figured it out, and I tried not to make a very clickbait themed thumbnail, because if you scroll through YouTube and everyone's kind of putting up, it's time for a break, or I'm done, or this is terrible, or they're trying to put, I don't know if they're trying to get more viewers and subscribers by doing that kind of stuff or what, but I tried not to make it that style, but at the same time wanted to, just let people know, hey, why isn't there a video on this Friday? When I mean, for 3 years, been doing a 6 a.m. video on every Friday. So
yeah, you had a pretty strict upload schedule, and I really liked the video because I definitely can relate to a degree that putting out these videos can be sometimes a little bit somewhat of a chore, because you want to keep to a specific schedule, as you just elaborated, and you want to kind of provide content as regularly and as good as possible. But then on the other hand, as you mentioned, and I'm in the same boat basically, that we have to pay rent. We have regular jobs, and this is basically a passion project. And then to some degree, we try to make this a job as well, and therefore we have the same work ethics. And we try to do all of this stuff. So that's basically why I wanted to kind of talk to you about this and how you feel about all of this. Do you think what would you like to improve in the future with your channel or with content creation? Would you consider changing anything in terms of the content, the style, or are you envisioning a place where you kind of relax a little bit again with the upload schedule?
So I would really love to be able to produce videos and get them out on a schedule that makes everything work and brings in more subscribers, gets the videos put in front of the right people, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I would love to really, I just noticed when I do a review on a bag that I really like or I've spent some quality time with, that the video ends up better. And if there's something I don't like a lot, that I sometimes just drag my feet with it, or maybe you can tell in a tone that I just don't really enjoy something as much as I would normally say I would. So anyway, there's just things you like to do, things you don't like to do. And I'm trying to do more of the things I like to do and less of the things I don't like to do. And so I think what I really am getting at too is I'm trying to step back from the weekly deadline. And so it might end up being that I'm pretty close to that. But what I would rather do is put out one every other week or one every 9 or 10 days and have it be a better product than rushing through and getting everything done on a timeline.
I like that.
I mean, I'm also at a point now where a lot of people are reaching out and I'm getting things sent to me to review, which is also a fun part of this process where you review, or companies would like you to take a look at what they have. And I, for a long time, was saying yes to a lot of those and no to a lot of others. But at least if it fit my mode, I was saying yes. And then the problem is if I wasn't sure and then I get it and I'm still not sure, then it doesn't end up being that good of a video. So I'm trying to just maybe stick with the things that I would, no kidding, put my money down on and buy and go from that angle. So now that gets expensive, right? Because instead of having things provided, now you're laying out cash for these things. But I think that's kind of where I'm at, is just trying to remove the shackles of the weekly timeline, at the same time just focusing on the things I want to do.
Yeah, I like that. Do you have specific things where when you say you want to concentrate on the things that you want to do you see yourself just looking at the items that you want to review, or can you see yourself also making different types of content?
So that's interesting, because the answer is yes. I would like to create different types of content, but that is, as I think maybe we talked about before, I know you've talked about on your channel, do you start a second channel separate from your main channel, or do you just put it all into one?
It's hard, yeah.
What I think I don't see myself doing a second channel at this point, mostly because I can barely keep up with one.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily want to see one die. Not that it would die, but because this content's there for people to review and watch. And I still want to, like for instance, this track carryology bag is awesome. And I didn't like the previous ones, but I wanted to definitely look at that, compare it to some others, put my stuff in it, see if it was going to work for me. And so I got it and did it. And so I know that is a type of review, a type of video that I'm going to continue to want to do because of all the innovation that mostly carryology with these companies is coming out. But, there's always new stuff from some of my favorite brands that I want to take a look at and just compare. Because if I'm curious, somebody else is probably curious. And it's just nice to put these things together, because a lot of times, for instance, Track is not going to do a video where they're going to bring in two competitor bags and say, look how he compared to the other guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Coke doesn't say Pepsi. This is all this. So it's fun to do those that the other companies can't do, and a lot of people have questions about. So with that type of content, I'm not going to go away from, but there's other stuff that I want to get into, and reviewing other types of equipment that are still fit into the outside world, but aren't necessarily the backpack niche.
Yeah.
Niche.
I think it's a shame sometimes in this YouTube content creator space where you kind of run yourself into a niche, and that, for instance, you and I, we're bag reviewers, but I know from your Instagram, you have so many other hobbies and interests that would be so cool to see, be it motorcycle gear, or you talked in your last video about, was it climbing or running the mountain? Climbing the mountain, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, so last summer, I climbed Mount Rainier on Washington State, which was fun. And I think
so
when
interesting.
I dumped all the footage into one timeline, and it's like 4 hours. I mean, no one's going to watch a feature-length film about me and my buddies climbing a mountain. But there's a lot of good information in there about how I trained, what information I packed, what stuff that I thought I was going to take and actually took to Washington State. And then someone said, don't take any of that. So I left half of it in the room. There's the training that were provided is information that someone would want to know before they went, like, or do I have to be prepared, or will they teach me? And then there's the climbing. It was fun, and there's some good footage in that I carried a camera for, so I might as well show people how cool it was and how fun it was. But that's, for you, I could give you 4.5 hours of footage as a professional editor, and you would crank it out like that. But for me, it has sat on the shelf so long because it's overwhelming. And I've watched most of it, and I know it's not filmed with a fantastically awesome camera. These are action cameras, which are really good nowadays. And it just looks amazing. I mean, you're in a good backdrop with a crummy camera, and it still a lot of times looks really good. So I'm looking forward to putting that together.
Could you see a possibility to split those 4 hours into, let's say, 10 mini episodes, and then add those mini episodes kind of like I do it at the moment with these mini vlogs and my reviews, and add those to the reviews in to some degree, and just
So I don't think so. I have a format for those videos, and it's an outline, and it's going to break it into mostly kind of the bins I've already kind of said, some training, some packing, some that kind of stuff that will be digestible and entertaining. And you know how 4.5 hours of just walking around footage is really going to only be maybe an hour total, 20-minute little segments with a lot of some other B-roll or whatever. But I think it's going to be fun, and I'm going to definitely I've started that process, some scripting. I'm going to do some voiceovers, and that's going to be I'm not going to put those out like the only content. It'll be every other video for a while will be one of those until I complete that cycle. But probably 3 videos and like a preview reel, which will be kind of fun, I think, all the highlight stuff for that. And we'll see how those videos do. A while ago, I did a video of a weekend in Austin where we went to the Formula One race. We did some basically off-road buggy style things, and then we rented some Corvettes, and we were driving all over town. And I put that video out there, and it tanked. I mean, nobody watched it, which is it's just what it is. Sad. It doesn't fit the mold of what the channel normally does. So I'm not sure where these are going to go. The fact that I used gear, like for instance, I used the Mystery Ranch Bridger, which I did a video review of, all the Bridgers. There's 4 different sizes. I did that. I used that. So that'll be, sort of what kind of gear you would take and acquire. But when you look at the niche that is, backpacking gear and all that stuff, those guys do really well. And there's a handful of creators in that space. And I don't think there's a lot of crossover between their style of videos and mine. I do one of their style videos. I'm not sure I'm not sure what the viewership will be like when I do that, but I'm interested. And honestly, this is where I'm at, is I have this footage. It's going to be awesome. I needed to do it. I've kind of hinted at it in videos. A lot of people have asked about it. So we're going to just buckle down. And in this, creative hiatus, creative retreat, we're going to just at least crank that stuff out.
What's your goal with the channel? When you think about, I mean, you just talked about the video that somewhat tanked, and therefore, as many creators know, when a video tanks, it kind of affects the channel a little bit, more or less. What's your goal with the channel on the long run? Do you see, or would you love to have the channel be your main source of income at some point, or are you willing to experiment a little bit to create content that you personally enjoy, but that potentially could have more videos in there that tank and therefore affect the channel?
So I don't have any delusions of this being the primary source of income. So I do feel the freedom to experiment, to see if we can't expand the channel in different directions. And I am curious to see how these Mount Rainier videos do, just to see if they bring in some other backpack style people, backpackers into this space, because they probably travel as well. They might want to know what these other backpack styles are like. And so, yes, I'm going to experiment a little bit. And I kind of came to this conclusion also from the analytics of the channel. And if, everyone who's creating content is hopefully looking at their analytics and is trying to grow. And so watching the rate that the channel has been growing, it has reached a plateau, and it's been steady in terms of subscriber growth over a given month, but it hasn't jumped into that next tier. So it's kind of stagnated in growth over, I would say, the last 3 months that I can just recall. Yeah. And so with that, like, well, shoot, it's going to stay like that until I do something. Let's see what this will do. So I'm trying to maybe find a little thing that'll put a spark in it that'll bring in a different group of people to see how that goes. Because I think because I do watch a lot of other content videos on the same space, and I do like the way I handle things because of I try to bring in more comparisons. I try to bring in some real world examples. I have obviously a library of other bags to compare them to. So, I think I provide some value to the space and I enjoy the process. And so, we'll see where that goes. I also have some pretty big goals in other areas that is going to take up some time in terms of cycling. So I would love to do more content about that. But that is another whole area of just kind of hard to break into.
Yeah, I can see that you have a lot of hobbies and interests that don't get a lot of, in air quotes, attention on your channel, which I understand why you don't showcase everything that you enjoy. But I feel sometimes it's a shame, as I said, that we kind of built or walked ourselves into this street in this corner of a niche, and it's hard to kind of experiment with other items. So I can totally relate on feeling a little bit creatively exhausted and therefore wanting to kind of do a break a little bit.
Well, just to assess, what you're doing, how you're doing it, I think is always a good thing to improve. I think I can always spice things up with a little bit different background or music or new studio or lighting or cameras or, there's always some little thing you can always tweak to make it better. But, it's the content. You want to create content that drives channel growth, brings in new subscribers. And so it's really hard, at least with just 3 years of experience, to just kind of figure out what is the big driver to drive growth. Now, when I look back at, say, just different companies' videos, just bringing two, Goruck, Mystery Ranch, Evergoods, I can compare each of those three types of those companies' videos that I do, and those are three pretty good driving types of videos on the channel. But I do a off-the-wall brand that no one has really heard of. Nobody intends to maybe go research, and it falls flat. So it's really hard to kind of bring up the whole channel with only doing those three types of videos. You have to experiment with others. So it's just, again, trying to find something else. In the past I did Apple Watch videos. I did a Garmin watch review.
I remember that.
Because those communities are so huge, you get 1% of that community watching it, and it spikes on the channel. So, but I don't necessarily am as passionate about getting every new watch and GPS device and testing it out the way some others do. They have that passion and they do really well at it. But for me, it was like, well, will this work for me? And so, again, those videos did pretty well. Same thing with action cameras. I got a lot of action cameras, but do I want to be, talking about frame rates and camera specs type of person? I don't know.
It's so interesting. As I mentioned in the introduction, so many review channels have the same feeling at the moment. You see it with, for instance, I don't know if you know him, Gerald Undone, who does these really technical camera reviews, and he just, I think 2 weeks ago or something, put out a video saying he's not sure if he really wants to do these camera reviews anymore the way he does. And I can relate. At some point you kind of question, okay, do I really want to review all of the time? And for me, at least, that was the reason why I kind of dabble with this new kind of style of making videos and challenge myself to kind of include vlogs. And suddenly I have these 30-minute or 50-minute videos. I'm not sure how that works in the long run, though.
What was your what do you think the results were of that? Did you do some comparisons with some previous styles, and did you come up with a
Um,
conclusion?
Honestly, it's for me, it's hard to kind of read the analytics in that from that angle. I see the numbers, how many people viewed them. I see the graphs in where people kind of drop off from the video, but it's hard for me to kind of scientifically compare that to other videos and kind of pinpoint, oh, okay, is that now better or worse? Not sure, because some of the vlog style videos perform really well. Others, they're okay. So, but from what I can gather at the moment, I really enjoy the process of this kind of very fluid, organic style and experimenting. It's definitely something that I enjoy. However, I'm not sure if that's not hurting my channel in the long run. Up to now, I can say that my channel has been stagnating anyways since COVID. So no harm done. That's why I'm not sure. I'm trying to find a balance, and that's why I kind of enjoy talking about this kind of content creator mindset, especially with people like you and I who have a main income and then do this on the side. It's kind of interesting to share thoughts.
Yeah, so I still think that, because I'm traveling in different locations, that filming things in different places is still kind of is an interesting thing. Like, oh, everybody has the same sling, but he's using the sling in New Orleans, or he's climbing
Yeah.
up a hill with it, or he's taking it really outdoors. I think that, for me, that's efficient use of my time, because if I'm going to be gone for 4 days away from my family, I can't do anything with family. I might as well take my time and run around a city with something cool or showcase
Yeah,
some
yeah,
other
yeah, yeah.
feature. And so I think for me, it's still an efficient use of my time. And I think it makes them a little more interesting. The problem with that is, like I had this whole plan to film in New Orleans, and I didn't look at the weather beforehand. And I get there, I have one day, and it's raining the whole time. So I can't go outside and enjoy whatever, everything. And that's happened a couple times. So
Yeah.
it's fun, but also I can't make that the only plan for that week, because then I'll have nothing. So that's where I
Yeah.
get into this like quandary of I need to create stuff. And at the same time, I think I just need to take a step back and go create it the right way, edit it creatively, put it out when it's ready to go, instead of just meeting a timeline. The problem is, like this track carryology bag came out, and yes, you can't buy it anymore. I think it's sold out already, but the lifespan of interest is pretty short. Like, it just came out. What's it
Yeah.
like? And other times, if I'm, like I've had one of these wandered backpacks for a while now that has been out forever, and me putting it out tomorrow or in a month really doesn't matter to wandered, or because they didn't send it to me. So, there's things that don't have to be done now. So don't necessarily constrain yourself with tight timelines. So,
Speaking of bags that you enjoy and that you like, do you see yourself still as a Goruck expert? Is Goruck still your bag of choice that you enjoy reviewing or making content about the most?
so I think that when it does come to Goruck, I am fairly versed and an expert on what they've produced recently. I know, like, JT knows, which versions of the GR1s and the Radio Rucks. He knows a lot more of the historical stuff, but of the recently created Goruck stuff, I consider myself fairly dialed into that, and I've handled and reviewed most of their recent things. So my problem right now with Goruck is they are a little focused on apparel right now because of the CrossFit games and tied to CrossFit. So they're really dialed into that with footwear and apparel, and their bag side is still moving and moving along, but they're more into the just changing the materials of their classic designs, at least right now.
I mean, you reviewed a lot of Goruck bags and you own a lot of Goruck bags. Do you see anytime soon the somewhat product fatigue? You know, people who have been buying an iPhone for many years. You see some iPhone users kind of craving something new because the iPhone has been the same for many years and kind of switch to different phones. Do you see yourself kind of getting bored with Goruck? I mean, you have seen everything of them, right?
Yeah, I
Basically.
mean, that's probably not too far off. I don't know if I would call it fatigue, but when I go back and look at the videos from the different companies, I can see like I've tapered off on Goruck lately because of they just really haven't put out too much in the new category. There's been some collaboration stuff, which has been fantastic. They're really kind of dialed into this ripstop Roebuck lately, and they're just kind of relaunching a lot of their designs in this ripstop, which, you know, some people like. I'm kind of neutral on it. I've handled a lot of their bags like that. It does, for some people, where like a canvas bag is too rigid for them, maybe the ripstop is a little more flowy and they kind of like this more versatile bag versus something that just kind of feels more rigid and boxy. So I can see that. But overall, I mean, and I think that's where, if you're a company like Goruck, you need to be a little concerned, because if people are getting fatigued with the design and seeing it kind of stagnate, that there's a lot of other great companies out there. And, you know, like Evergoods has been doing a lot of great stuff, changing their classic designs into smaller footprints, like the CPL 16, which they did, which was really, really cool. And, you know, they're experimenting in some different fabrics. You know, they're smaller companies, so they are innovating on a more deliberate timeline. But when they do, it's usually awesome. So, and their design aesthetics are I wouldn't say drastically different, but they are very different in how they look and feel. So I think that's where you would be worried if you're a Goruck, when other competitors have just a little bit different look, a little different feel to it. Then, you know, you might lose a little business in just those two companies, for example. But, you know, like Mystery Ranch is continuing to crank out all sorts of different designs across a variety of platforms, from outdoor and hunting and military and fire and everyday carry. They're just kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just those three companies are pretty good examples.
Would it be a fair assessment to say that Goruck is at least one of your top 3 brands?
Yes.
Would you say, is there any brand that where you kind of anticipate or could see them at some point being in your top 3 and then kicking Goruck maybe to the top 4?
That's a good
So any
question.
brand with
So what
a
you're saying
trajectory?
is that I love 2 others. And the number 1 right now is probably going to be below the other 2 and another one.
Yeah.
So I don't foresee that happening anytime soon, mostly because of I just like the classic design of the GR1, just the layout of it. You know, I'm very familiar with the front pocket, the internal layouts, the shoulder straps are comfortable and overbuilt. The ones with the bags of the top pocket are always my preferred now. I think that's just a classic. That's just my gold standard. I compare everything to at least that. I do like other aesthetics for sure, but that is just sort of my home when it comes to the classic design. So I can't see it ever getting kicked out of the top 3, but I can definitely envision other companies, you know, maybe challenging one of my top 3s. I don't think it'd be Goruck though. But that's just the way, if I counted all the bags, which I will never do because that would be a dangerous number. Goruck is definitely still the predominant design, company on the shelf, in the archives, everywhere. But here's a good. I don't only do Goruck, and I'm thinking about doing this video because I'm packing for 2 weeks. I'll be living out of my truck. I'm going to be doing some hiking, some biking on 2 different bikes, some fishing. I'm going to be doing all this outdoor activity over 2 weeks. My truck's going to be full of all these things. I've got different bags for different activities.
Oh, wow.
They're all different colors. They're all different sizes. They're all different shapes. And I didn't do it intentionally, but when I sit there and look at the pile, I go, this is like, I got something from everybody. So I'm going to probably do a video of when I pack for 2 weeks, look at all these bags, and it could be maybe a fun video just to see this is where the fishing stuff is. This is where the helmets are. This is where clothes are. And this is how I packed out clothes for 2 weeks because it's just, you don't want to be unzipping stuff for every day. But it's just, it's a good problem to have. But when I go on a trip like that, there's some anxiety of like, what am I going to do? What am I going to put it in? What am I going to be like sad? Because there's always going to be something. I'm going to be in the middle of this trip and I'm like, man, I wish I would have brought whatever that is.
Yeah. That sounds like a very interesting or a bunch of interesting pieces of content that I'm looking forward to see actually. But going back to Goruck, I mean, I started my channel with the GR0 21 liter, which now is called GR1. I know what I like about it, but I have a lot of emotional connection to that bag, but can you kind of pinpoint on what made the GR1 the golden standard, as you just called it, for you? Is it just like me having a lot of kind of emotional connection to it, or do you see a lot of the features or the design where you can pinpoint that is why this is my golden standard?
So I think I would put it very similarly to your story, and that was the first bag that I really had and used. It was a GR0 21 liter. I bought it to ruck with it, do events with, then traveled with it, then used it for work. So that bag it used to be like right there on the wall. It's out now, it's over here, but it's I still have that bag and it's not going anywhere. I put holes in the bottom of it for water to drain out of it when I was doing rucking events. So really that, again, I became very familiar with everything where it was loaded, just because of when you're doing an event, a Goruck event, you have to quickly access things. And so it's just, you kind of know without looking where stuff is, when it's open, when it's closed, you just it's like the back of your hand.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
And so when I compare other bags, you just go with what you primarily used and love. So yeah, so that's really kind of the same reason you have. It's the first one you spent a lot of time with and are most familiar. And then as things progress, then the GR2s come out. I've used those for years. I've traveled. I have every size of the GR2. The different materials, I think, all bring different elements to it. And so and then the fact that Goruck created the Rucker based off of the GR1, I have had multiple versions of that, and that has grown my channel as well, because rucking is a kind of not a new thing, but is kind of exploding because of its fitness aspects. And so the fact that they took the GR1, took out the things you didn't need for rucking, made it stronger for just rucking, and then produce that model is, again, they've done a lot of good things in the space, and I love the design and how they've done it. And now we're at a point where, what are they going to do next?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Would there be something, do you consider Goruck, if you could change something, is there a type of bag that you would love to see from them? Because I do feel that they kind of got stuck in their design language. I kind of wish they would say, okay, the GR1 is our Jordan, and now let's create a Nike Air Force One, or now let's create, I don't know, a different kind of style. I wonder if they would ever kind of challenge the design language. Is there
Well,
something that you would love to see from them?
well, so there always is little tweaks that, I would have done. I would say one thing that is an example of ways they are seeking to innovate is the M22, now M23. Like that design kind of came out of nowhere, is a fantastic design.
Yeah, that's
and it opens totally different. And it brought something that people always say they wanted from Goruck, which is the side water bottle pocket. And then they took it away. They changed the design in the M23. But that is honestly, I didn't have any like pre-knowledge that was happening, and it came out and I was just like, holy cow, look at that. That is pretty cool. I think the M23 was a cool evolution. I know they're working on the M24. I don't have any real details, except the fact that they're making an M24, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing that. But in terms of beyond that, I don't know. Believe me, I would like to get involved with some of their bag choices, but it's not my job.
Yeah.
And I've been down there, and I've met a majority of the people that work in both SCARs and in the product development space for them, and they're doing great stuff. But like I said, they're the company and as a design element, they're just getting pulled in different directions right now because of the CrossFit Games, the fact that they're the primary sponsor. And so when you're the primary sponsor of something as big as the CrossFit Games, there's a lot of demands that come with that in terms of making everyone happy in terms of the apparel they're getting, the shoe choices. So they're devoting a lot of time and energy to that endeavor, which, I hope works out for them.
Yeah. I was actually kind of thinking of that you would say, oh, I want a Goruck sling bag. I want a Goruck fanny pack. I was kind of thinking that you would say something in that direction.
Well, it's funny that so I have one of these field notes with me a lot of times, and I do have a combination. So, they make the Bullet Ruck, the 15-liter Bullet Ruck, and before that they had a 10-liter.
I have that one, yeah.
So you have the 10-liter. Do you have the double compartment?
Yeah, it's the one with the main compartment and then the hydration pack compartment in the back.
Yeah, so that's like the original Bullet Ruck, 10 liters. So I have an idea. Basically, you just take that, put it on its side, and do a zip that goes all the way around.
Interesting.
And then take just one strap, not the two, and not the thin bullet strap, but the wider one, and put that around as the sling. And then you sling it around, you can unzip the whole thing and get into both layers. So, but when on your back, it would look just like it'd have the same footprint, same slash pocket, and the same patch panel. It would look just like the Bullet 10-liter, but has a different strap. So I did have that design. I've got some sketches that I talked to them about that, and it's gone nowhere so far. But maybe they'll watch this podcast and they'll want to, get back into
Or maybe you need to learn how to use a sewing machine and do it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I really, on my bucket list of things, I want to go out to California and do the Canvas Works, the Brown Buffalo.
They have like a course?
Yeah, they have a course you can do. It's a bag making course. So you can go to Canvas Works. Or I think you go on the Brown Buffalo webpage on the bottom is Canvas Works.
Oh,
you can go out there.
I need to check that.
Yeah. Douglas Davidson does the course, and he'll teach you how to make bags.
Brown Buffalo Canvas Worker.
If you follow him, if you follow Canvas Works on Instagram, you'll see normally after a class, everyone's kind of holding their Brown Buffalo bag that they made in that style, and they he picks the materials and you sew it. They teach you how to do everything.
That is awesome.
So what we should do is we should get all of us, you, Chase, Aaron,
that would be dope.
Danny, JT, Clint. We should all sign up for the class. We should all go to it.
That is pretty cool. So the course, I'm looking at this right now. It's 4 days, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. for a total of 1,400 euros. That's a lot of money, but understandable for 4 days. That's pretty interesting. I would love to do that actually. That would give so much perspective on how to review bags actually. I mean, only
What
doing
it
this,
takes. Yeah.
yeah,
How to make
this
it, actually build it,
exactly.
and you're learning from the master.
Yeah, yeah. That is pretty cool actually. In which city is
It's
this?
in Costa Mesa, California. It's just south of LA.
Damn, that's a long
It's
flight.
a long flight. But, and
Yeah,
this is the parallel universe. So I watched a video, Outdoor Vitals makes backpack equipment, and they
yeah.
invited a bunch of creators. They outfitted them. They went hiking. So this would be a parallel. The Canvas Works brings all these YouTube bag reviewers. You build a
Yeah.
bag. We would all film. We would all do our own little video spin on
That
it.
would. I mean, that's similar to, I don't know if you know that Sony does these
Oh yeah,
creator cams.
creator camps.
Yeah, that is so cool. Or Lumix also did that in Japan. I would love to see this back world niche to grow to a point where they would actually invite content creators. That
Yeah.
would be dope.
Yeah, but I
Oh,
mean,
I mean,
who would do that, right? So Goruck's not going to do that. They don't. They're not as
I
big
mean, they
as a
could do it
company.
for American living people. I mean, that wouldn't be too much of a big deal.
Yeah,
I mean, you could, even if you just would say, okay, we invite all of you to come to our headquarters. You live in USA, we can pay for traveling expenses, but hey, food and everything is here. That even if they would only do that, I would live, I don't know, in New York, and they would do it in LA. I probably would come.
yeah, yeah. I don't. They're probably the biggest. I mean, Mystery Ranch is another big one, but they're going
Mm,
through their own uh, not growing pains, but just as they Yeti bought Mystery Ranch, so
mm,
they're as they work through what that really looks like in the future. I think they're going to operate separately, but it's hard to say once all the paperwork signed what it's going to really look like. So that's another. I think going to Bozeman would be fun because if you go to
mm.
Bozeman, you get Evergoods and Mystery Ranch
Yeah, yeah.
in one place.
Bozeman is in Montana, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually had
So,
well, I've had two trips there. One got canceled, and actually both of them had issues, and I never made it to Bozeman, which was so frustrating because I was planning to
mm,
just meet some of the people from Evergoods, and I was planning to walk in a Mystery Ranch, just say, "Hey, what's up? Show me how
yeah.
you make the bags."
What are the prices for domestic flights at the moment? And if you would go, I don't know, from New York to Bozeman, any idea? Is it like
A small little
$200 or
city is
something?
really hard to tell because the
Oh,
time of
Bozeman is
year.
small. Okay.
Yeah, it's a smaller city in Montana. So, I mean, we fly. I
Mm.
don't even know what the tickets are, but from city to city, you're talking $300 ish
Oh,
American.
okay.
But to go to a smaller city, it's usually a little higher. Wintertime's probably more expensive because
Mm.
skiing is big, so tourism is big.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
summertime,
everything has become expensive at the moment. I mean, traveling isn't as cheap as it used to be, I feel like. At least that's how I perceive it at the moment. It seems like flights are really expensive. So
well,
yeah,
it's
maybe
supply
yeah.
and demand, and it's in demand, so they can squeeze you for a few more dollars.
Yeah,
So which
that's
I like
right.
because that pays my bills.
I'm still waiting for some cool vlogs from the cockpit. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
But I
I
understand
can
that you're not allowed to.
send you some links to some guys that do that. There's one guy from United, My Layover Life, which is an entertaining look at airline life. So you can check him out. He's pretty funny. He flies actually the same fleet I'm in, and I watch his videos. And when you know like what it takes to record different scenes, I'm sure you break these kind of things down all the time as well because of your job. But I watch his videos, and I just know, like, okay, so you went into your hotel room and you set up the camera, and then you walked out, and then you walked back in.
That's the life of a vlogger.
The same guys that like do like a trail run, they're like, you're running on the trail, then you stopped, you set up the camera, then you went back on the trail, then you ran by it, and then you came back. So there's just all those mechanics that I'm just too efficient in my daily movement that I just don't think I could just retrace my steps all the time to do that. So I don't think I'll ever do that. But I've got some ideas. We'll see. But definitely not. I don't plan to do the airline stuff. And the reason I don't is because when you're doing things that are obviously airline related, you can't hide the company that you're working for. And then when you do that, you invite the scrutiny of whatever company that you fly for. So I don't like to necessarily cross the streams and have my hobby, my also job.
Yeah.
So
I can understand that. All right. I have one last question before I let you go. What has been your favorite purchase within the last 12 months?
Does it have to be a backpack?
No, anything. Anything. I always like to kind of get inspired what people enjoy getting.
So
maybe it's some.
You've probably, if you've been on Instagram, you've seen pictures of these bicycles, but I recently bought 2 bicycles, which is not a cheap endeavor these days because of the technology that's been put into cycling over the last decade. And so I built my last bike and rode it about 10 years ago, and stopped riding it about 7 years ago. And then so when I got back into it, I bought 2 bikes that are just amazing. And I'm going to take them both this week. One is a mountain bike that I just absolutely love and I'm so happy with. And then the other is a gravel bike, which is also very awesome.
What's the difference between a mountain bike and a gravel bike?
So a mountain bike is, the one I have is suspension. It's meant for off-road use.
I see.
Up and down a mountain kind of thing. The gravel bike looks more like a road bike, but it has off-road tires. So they're a little bit wider and they're with more grip. They're meant to be on a gravel road, dirt road.
It's kind of what a scrambler is to a naked road bike, basically.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're still very lightweight. They have the drop handlebars, the curved handlebars. So they look more like a road bike, but they are meant for off-road use. So they're a little more
like fun.
Beefy. And I've done a lot of gravel riding lately, and it's just so fun to be outdoors, not on roads, because road riding can be dangerous and just because of the traffic. But when you're down a dusty, dirty road, there's not a lot of traffic on it, but so you can just kind of get off road and be in the middle of nowhere, farmland, or in the hills, and it's just so fun.
I was always wondering, you are a fellow motorcycle rider as well, and as a motorcycle rider, you're basically used to wear protective gear, or at least a proper helmet with a chin guard. At least I do. I'm not sure how you protect yourself.
I have a full face.
Full face, right? So I always wonder, when I'm riding my motorcycle, I come across a lot of bicycle riders who are really fast, who at least I would say around the 50 kilometers per hour mark, which, if I'm not totally mistaken, is 70 miles per hour or something. Would that be correct? I'm not sure. 50 miles per hour. Let me just check. 50 kilometers per kmh in miles per hour. Oh no, it's the other way around. 31. Sorry. 31 miles per hour. Yeah. So it's really fast. And I see them with these shorts, then a t-shirt, and a helmet that does not protect their face. So you, coming from the background of a motorcycle rider, do you sometimes worry about being on a gravel bike and maybe going downhill and going 30 miles per hour, not wearing leather and maybe a full face helmet, because road rash is terrible.
Yeah, no,
Don't you worry?
Yeah, I've had road rash from a motorcycle incident, but I don't seem to be that worried. I'm not that worried about it on the road, but mostly because I think, and maybe it's a speed issue with the motorcycle. You're going, 2 to 3 times faster on a motorcycle.
True.
And you're all the time tangling with cars, much bigger, heavier. And so not that that's going to, the leather and helmet really is not going to stop a car. But the slower-ish speeds, I think the protection is adequate. But one thing I can say is, like, if you ever looked at mountain bike style helmets, the downhill mountain bike people have the full face.
Yeah.
The bar that's like more like a motocross style helmet. So they are ready for hitting things, going downhill and trees. My helmet is not, I don't have the full face, but I did just recently buy a new one because I read that bicycle helmets expire after several years. Just the foam density and everything sort of breaks down. So I bought a new mountain bike helmet.
It's how I convince myself buying a new motorcycle helmet, to be quite honest. Oh, it's expired. I need a new one.
It's expired. You need a new style. Yeah, there's always something, right? Whatever works to get that new one, shiny or, distressed look or whatever. It's pretty cool. But yes, I would say, the bags are great, and I've got a lot of great ones. There's a lot of cool stuff lately, but I've been spending a lot of time on both those bikes and plan to do a lot more this year, and they've been fun.
Yeah, you like to be on at least 2 wheels. I like that.
That's it. No, I had one perfect day where I rode two of them. I rode one in the morning and the other one in the evening. And in the middle of the day, I was on my motorcycle. I'm like, this does not get any better.
Yeah. How about new motorcycle? Are you contemplating on getting a new motorcycle? I mean, you have a beautiful motorcycle. Would you consider getting a different one in the future?
No. I mean, I do want to get a new one, but the problem is the one I have is great for around town and short rides. And I have enough activities that are solo activities that I don't need another solo activity motorcycle. Like, because the one I would want is more the adventure style. And I just don't.
Which one?
I'm a Triumph guy, so Triumph Tiger.
Oh, yeah, the Tiger looks beautiful.
Tiger is great. I don't know which size exactly. There's a lot of great choices there, from the bigger 1200s down to 900s. They make 850s. They make a wide range of those that I don't know what I would get. But again, it would be something that I would go off and do by myself, which
alone.
But cycling is a little different just because there's a fitness element. So I'm doing it. I'm also helping my fitness. So it's a little easier to take time away to do that. But everything else I try to do with the family.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time and answering all of my questions. Really appreciate it. And where can people find you if they want to look you up?
I think that in the near term, that Instagram, JB Outside, JB.outside, and then on YouTube, JB Outside 1 is but anyway, you can search for JB Outside on YouTube. Those are 2 places that's easiest to find and communicate.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. And we see you in the next episode.
There you go.
Thank you very much.